Go.
Hi, welcome to
Hi.
our office. I'm Kara Dickinson.
I'm John Smith. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Mr. Smith. Do you mind if we call you John?
John's
or-
fine.
Okay. This is my partner, Casey Kraft.
Hi.
Hey, Casey.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to
Please
meet you
have a
too.
seat. Did you have any trouble finding our office?
Oh no, I found it just fine. It
Good.
was good.
Good. Is this your first time seeing somebody?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
I've never really had a need to really see an attorney before, so
How'd you hear about our firm?
just advertising. I just saw a newspaper clipping. I'm like, okay, well maybe these guys can help out. If not, maybe point me in the right direction.
Yeah, of course.
Well, just to give you a little bit about our office policies, we want to hear from you and then clarify what you said just so we understand what everything that's going on. And then we would discuss the law that pertains to your situation and
Okay.
let you know what we think would be a possible solution. I mean, we're not here to say that this is your only solution. We're going to give you the options and then help you decide.
Okay.
Just about what we say. And so, and discuss our next steps afterwards, if you want to if you want to hire us for your representation, or if, what's going on next, so that's
Okay.
our steps.
Just so you know, today is going to be a free consultation. I know you spoke to our secretary, Jeffrey, on the phone.
Yes, Jeffrey.
And,
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, so in keeping with that, anything that you say to him or anything that you say to us is confidential. So please feel free to speak freely. Don't hold back, and we're here to listen to everything that you have to say in regards to your situation. So, do you have any questions about it being confidential or?
No.
We're also going to be writing some notes. Feel free to write your own notes. Here's a pen.
Thank you.
Don't feel like you're obligated to. We just do it so we can refresh our memory if we have to look back on your file or follow up with you at any time.
Okay, and just tell you a little bit about us. We've been in business for about 10 years. We partnered after we worked together before, and we work with a lot of constitutional law issues, such as the one that you brought in here today that you told us a little bit about, just a brief. And so we'd like to hear what you had to say further. So if you don't have any questions or anything about any of our policies or anything that we went over, anything?
No, none.
Okay, well, we would like to hear what you have to say, so if you're ready to start, go ahead.
Okay. Every day for the last 3 months, I've been going outside this restaurant on the sidewalk, and I've been picketing or kind of boycotting against the restaurant. The restaurant, they are refusing to seat anyone that they feel is in a same-sex or same-sex couple relationship. It seems like they're kind of discriminating against them, not offering any type of services. I'm the only one that's outside. It's all non-violent, just holding up a little sign and just letting people know that they're not treating people equally here. The owner of the restaurant, he knows I'm out there. Again, it's been very peaceful. He hasn't said anything to me. He has not told me that I need to get off the property or anything like that. However, there are some of the customers that seem to have, they don't seem to like my message, and they've made comments. They've told me to kind of get off the property. They can't enjoy their meal, with me out there doing whatever. I'm not yelling. I'm just silently carrying around a sign. Well, there's this one particular customer that has been giving me some really, really bad vibes, and it went to a whole new level here recently. His name is Brian, and Brian has been, he's been wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and he started calling me names, and he started getting real close to me and started making me feel afraid, like he was going to take it to a physical level other than just names. And at one point when he was continuing to yell at me, this is kind of why I'm here, he told me to go home and get a life. And he came up really close to me, and so I pushed him. Whenever I pushed him, Brian pulled out a police badge, cuffed me, and arrested me. And took me down to the police station and said that I was being arrested for assault and battery against a police officer. I didn't know he was a police officer. Again, I've seen Brian there several times. He's always been a person that's always made comments such as fag lover, queer. He's always made those types of comments towards me. So anyway, again, I didn't know he was a cop. I would have never pushed a cop. And it was like he didn't even put me on notice that he was a police officer until I was arrested. You know, I did not know at all. So I guess I'm here because you know, I felt like it was okay for me to sit out there and do this. The owner of the restaurant didn't say anything. Brian never informed me he was a cop. I feel like he was wrong. The city was wrong. So I want to sue him. I want to sue the city. As a matter of fact, I want Brian to be fired because I think it was just uncalled for. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, I'll just make sure that we understand what you're saying. You've been protesting it, and well, silently protesting in front of a restaurant for about 3 to 4 months every day.
Yes, about 3 months now.
3 months, okay. And your reason behind protesting was because they were refusing to serve like same-sex couples.
People they believe, like some
Okay.
people are not even in a
Okay.
relationship; they're just friends, and that's actually how I found out about
wow.
this.
Okay.
It was 2 guys, you know, and they're not in a relationship, nothing like that. But they believed it, and so they refused to even serve them, to bring them food or anything. And they were just asked by other patrons in the restaurant to get out. They started calling them names, so they felt uncomfortable and they left. And so that's when I was like, okay, this seems unfair, you know. So even though I'm not in that particular situation or in those types of relationships, I have friends that are in those relationships. So
Okay. And with the said you were silently carrying a sign.
Mhm.
What did that sign say?
it just said that my friends were refused to be served here because they are gay.
Okay. And just to complete the follow-up, like you were approached by Brian several times, and he was calling you names
Mhm.
and things like that. And then he really got closer to your face one time, and you pushed him, and then he revealed that he was a cop to you, and you had no idea he was a cop.
Right. It seemed like every time he come out, it was like he got more confident to get closer, and it just seemed like it was making it to that point to where you couldn't get any closer. So it was going to go to whatever that next phase. So I was afraid this guy, the next thing was a physical altercation.
Do you happen to know Brian's last name?
I've got it in the police report at home. I could definitely bring that into you.
Okay. Was anybody else present when you were arrested?
There were the people in the restaurant, and then the owner. The owner came out there. He didn't really do anything or say anything. He didn't say, you know, I said it was okay for him to be here.
Right.
Like I said, but he knew I was out there. He knew, you know, he never said anything. He never said get off the property. He never said any of that.
So he never made any complaints or filed
Mm-mm.
anything formal or anything?
Never said
Okay.
anything. No, there was never anything filed or.
Could you describe Brian for us?
Brian is about 6'9". He looks like he goes to the gym every day. He's a really big guy. He's very intimidating. You know, I'm 6'1" and he's 6'9", so he is huge. He's a really big guy. So, you know, that kind of played to the part too. Whenever someone's coming at you, you know, kind of defend yourself a little bit. You know.
That's why I kind of were asking, because, you know, it's good to kind of hear what, you know, Brian looks like in comparison, so you know, it shows that you were feeling threatened
Mhm.
by him getting so close to you.
Yeah.
When you were arrested, were any, do you have a trial date or anything, or is it just kind of you had to pay a fine, or what's the situation?
Right, I had a friend, you know, bail me out of jail, but I believe there is a trial coming up, you know, based on these charges, because it's assault and battery against a police officer. Those are my charges.
Have you ever been charged with anything before?
Never, nothing. This is the very first time I've ever had any problems. Never had a DUI, never had a speeding ticket. This is the very first time.
What was the bail amount set for?
$5,000.
Okay, so
Could you tell us a little bit more about the sign? You said what was on it, but maybe how big it was, or?
It was probably about the size of this backpack right here. So probably about this tall, this wide. I have it at home because it was the same sign every day. The owner saw it. You know, the front said the same thing on both sides. It was in, I believe, red lettering. You know, nothing. There were no pictures. Just that. I wasn't wearing anything. I was wearing similar clothes such as this. So no crazy clothes I was wearing. The only thing was just the sign.
did you ever have anybody join you in your silent protest?
It was just me. Again, when the people were walking into the restaurant, I didn't say anything to them. It wasn't like I was trying to verbally abuse the people that were wanting to eat there. I was just silently holding the sign.
So what would be your goals, if any, to achieve from this? I mean, you said you were wanting to sue like the city and the police officer, and so like what exactly are you hoping to get?
Right. I felt like Brian, you know, he wanted to act like he was a normal everyday guy and, you know, come up to me and threaten me. But then when I pushed him, it was almost like he wanted to invoke his official power, which I had no idea. So I felt like he really deceived me. So at the end of the day, I want Brian reprimanded. I want Brian fired because I just felt like that was an abuse of his power. I want the city to be sued, or, you know, if I can do that. And I think at some level, maybe even the mayor, you know, maybe something can be done about the mayor so that this does not happen anymore with any of them, because I think they're pretty much in charge of the police. I really don't know. So, or maybe you can tell me who.
Just to kind of make sure we understand everything, and I have a few more questions. You were boycotting a restaurant. What was the name of the restaurant again?
Mr. Pig.
Mr. Pig. And the owner knew you were there. Could you give us his name?
Yeah, his name was Ronaldo.
Do you have a last name for him?
He just goes by Ronaldo.
Okay.
That's all I know.
I'm sure we could figure that out if we look it up. Were there any other staff who regularly saw you since you were there every day? Did you recognize like the same staff every day?
I mean, I don't know their names, but if I
Okay.
saw them, I would recognize them.
Okay.
And again, they were there whenever I was arrested. You know, and all these people, I'm sure they saw this go down because it was almost like it became a weekly thing that Brian would
Right.
come in there and do his intimidation skit. I don't know if Brian was on duty or what, you know, if he just walks around with his badge, like if he was undercover, but I don't know why he would be undercover trying to take down a silent picketer.
Right.
So,
Right. So, just to kind of summarize what you've said, you were boycotting Mr. Pig. Ronaldo, the owner, knew you were there and
Mhm.
never said anything to you about leaving the premises or staying or anything.
yeah.
And then you had been picketing for 3 months every day because they discriminated against your friends when the restaurant believed that they were a same-sex couple.
Mhm.
So your sign said, "My friends were refused to be served here because they are gay." Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. And you said you have the sign. Would
Mhm.
you be willing to bring that in so we could look at it, maybe take some pictures, even keep it maybe here for safekeeping?
Yeah,
Would that
definitely.
be possible? Okay, and then you said, so you were harassed by Brian. I don't know if you really used that word harassed, but you were spoken to by Brian quite a few times, who was a regular customer at Mr. Pig, and he would yell at you and call you names. You used the word profane. You used fag, which
Fag
is kind
lover.
of the fag lover, which is a very profane thing to say. And he would always wear plain close, and he wouldn't touch you, but he would get really close in your face?
Each time it was like he
Every
got
time?
closer and closer and closer.
Okay. And so the day that everything happened is he got so close to you that you felt threatened and you pushed him.
Mhm.
Was that kind of just a reaction, or you wanted him to get away from you, or?
Well, it was just because every time he got closer and closer and closer. And I mean, and to begin with, when he came out the first few times, he was a big guy. So
Right.
even then I was threatened.
Right.
But then when there was nowhere else for him to go, the only closer thing he could do would be to maybe hit me or something. And so I just kind of did that out of, I guess, fear.
So you didn't hit him in any other way besides the push,
It was
right?
it was just a
Okay.
pushing
Just
away.
a push. Okay. So after you pushed him, he pulled out his badge, showed you he was a police officer, arrested you. Did he say while he was arresting you, it was for assault and battery, or did you find that out when you went to the station?
He just pulled out a police badge, cuffed and arrested me, and then he took me down to the station and booked me on charges for assault and battery against a police
Okay.
officer.
So basically after that, were you in jail for a long time after that, or your friend came and bailed you out?
It was less than 24 hours.
Okay. So your friend bailed you out for $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
You have a trial coming up, and you said that you have paperwork at home
Mm-hmm.
stating Brian's full name and all that
All
sort
that.
of thing. Okay.
Have you obtained an attorney to represent you for the?
No, you guys are the
charge?
first
Okay.
person, because I wanted to make sure I even had an issue. I don't know what issue this would be, you know. I mean, it seems like I should have a right to be able to stand out there and do this, you know, as long as I'm not hurting anyone, but I don't know. Hopefully I'm not wrong.
Well, and we don't really specialize in criminal law. However, I'm sure that we could recommend someone to you. So in the case that were to continue, that would be something that, you know, we could recommend somebody for you. And something to, you know, is like, were you issued your Miranda rights when you were arrested?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's good. So, I mean, that could have affected the situation altogether too, so.
I think Casey's gonna maybe talk a little bit about the First Amendment, your rights that you have in the Constitution. Have you ever heard about your First Amendment rights before, freedom of speech?
Back in school, I guess, that's all I know. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge on this. So.
Well,
Okay.
Casey would talk a little bit about how that applies to your situation in picketing.
Right, well, you are definitely, it's part of our freedom of speech to be allowed to protest. And with the protesting, since you were on private property and the owner did not seem to have an issue with it, or he never expressed it to you, and he never filed any, you know, complaints or anything like that, that you were allowed to be picketing there. And the fact that you were silently picketing, it's not, you know, violating any kind of noise ordinance or anything like that. And so, I mean, really, it seems to be, unless there's something that you're not telling us or something that we don't know about the situation, it seems that your protesting was perfectly legal. You were perfectly legal to be there.
Okay.
Now with the officer, when him arresting you, like he couldn't arrest you for your protesting, and so it seems like the officer was trying to bait you into committing some other offense to get you off the street in front of the restaurant. I don't know if he has any connections to this restaurant, or if he just feels it's his duty to. So that would be something else that we need to look into, whether it would be something like that. And so, but you were not violating any rules by silently protesting, unless, I mean, because you're not reaching out and grabbing people, you're not throwing anything in their face, you're not, I mean, you weren't saying anything, and so that is something that we would need to look into further, and maybe get some, like, the sign, get some more information from you like that, and see
Okay.
your arrest papers and everything like that, so we can see what's going on. But it seems like that the officer was baiting you, which unfortunately they are allowed to do. They are allowed to bait you, but there's an implication, I believe, in the law where when you don't know he's a police officer.
Right.
I mean, of course, like, mistake or something like that. I know that It doesn't always come into play, but that could be something that would like mitigate the factors or show that, I mean, he really had no reason to be bothering you and continuously coming unless you were doing something that was breaking the law. And so it's just something that we would need to look into further, but you have anything that you would like to add?
Yes, I have a question. Have you been back to that restaurant since your arrest?
No, because I'm kind of scared, you know, now,
Right.
you know, I've been arrested, so I wanted to make sure I didn't compound my problems by going back there and causing another scene and getting arrested again because $5,000 is kind of a lot,
Right.
so.
Okay, so I think that from what you said about the restaurant, what street is that on?
It's on Hammond.
Okay. So the parking lot, is that attached to the restaurant or is it like in a strip center?
It's its own little restaurant area with its own parking lot.
Okay. So it sounds like you know, you were definitely on private property, but you know, it could be considered, like the law has different ways of saying where you are.
Okay.
So you were on private property because it was the restaurant's property, but you were also like in public. And so we have to kind of look at maybe the nuances in the law and see how that affects your situation. Like Casey said, you know, it sounds from what we're hearing, we would say that judgment call right now is that it was legal to be picketing there, and that's not really the big issue. Because that will, you know, help your case that you were there legally and doing nothing wrong.
And the
But-
owner knew.
And the owner knew, you know, whether that's maybe permission to be there. I mean, he didn't give you express permission, but, you know, we could look at how that kind of affects.
Yeah,
You know, if he never said anything for 3 months, that's maybe by
Yeah,
then it's kind of
exactly.
like, that's not.
Implied
Right.
consent.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we could definitely say that. So, like Casey said, we'll definitely have to look into maybe the officer's position about, you know, how they can say things to you. Obviously, some of the things that he was saying was very profane, and since he's a government worker, you know, that speech isn't really protected. So he is not allowed to be saying those things to you. So that's definitely something that we can look at on your behalf, and it'd be also good to kind of get other witnesses since it's happened so many times, and people who were working at the restaurant saw everything happen. It would be very easy to kind of confirm everything and make sure that you know, he doesn't say anything different.
Okay.
So I think our next steps would be to look at our options. I know you said your main goal is to, obviously, you don't want Brian working on the police force anymore, you want him fired, and look at any kind of suit you can bring against the city. So I think our next options would be, you always have an option to do nothing. You don't have to, you know, have us represent you. We like to, you know, just let you know that that's an obligation since today was free. You don't feel like you paid and made an obligation to us. But since obviously this is important and you want Brian fired, we could write a letter to the city, since he's a government worker, and kind of bring their attention to the situation. We would definitely want to be more informed about your court date that's coming up,
Okay.
and maybe use some of this as a defense to your pushing or shoving or pushing Brian away. So, like Casey said, we don't really specialize in criminal law, but we could definitely find someone who would be a good fit for you, or actually look into it, maybe do a little bit of research ourselves if it's not, you know, a super, you know, crazy case. After we look at your report, your arrest report and everything like that, we could probably gauge from there, like if we could handle it in our firm.
Okay.
And maybe just get advice from another counsel or somebody to kind of guide where we want to focus our research and what is the best defense for you, to see if you can just even get out of that, because that'll be a huge step forward if you can, prove that it was not an assault and battery on a police officer.
Okay.
Because obviously that, if you were charged with that and found guilty of that, it doesn't look as good
Right.
on your behalf. So we definitely want to get you out of that, and that will help us, make a next step to getting Brian fired. Because if you show that that was not the case, then you can, show your side of the case of what he said to you, then it kind of helps us move forward in the other issue of the constitutional law and the speech area of it.
Okay.
Okay. What sounds good to you? Do you want to move forward and have us, see if we can represent you in court for your trial?
Absolutely.
And then see maybe what actions we can take against Brian personally, if we can file suit against him personally, or the city, since he's a government worker, since he works for them. Is that maybe something that you would be interested in?
That's exactly what I want to do. Sue him, the city. Him personally, if I can't hold the city responsible.
Right. Okay, perfect. So we'll definitely be able to move forward with this, and we know exactly what you want now.
Okay.
So I think our next steps is to kind of go over some of our retainer fee. It's a $1,500 retainer fee, which basically is like a down payment, or just make sure that we're your counsel. And we have a $150 hourly rate. So each month you would get a statement of our billing, and it would just show you where hours are going and how that's deducted from the retainer fee.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about that, or?
No, I guess do I go ahead and pay that now, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Casey has a packet for you, and it'll have the retainer agreement in there, and you'll just be able to pay our secretary, Jeffrey, up front and give him the retainer fee. He'll probably Xerox a copy for you right away.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and do that today.
Yeah.
And that way we can get started right away. And so I think our next steps is we need from you a few things. The sign, like we discussed, you said you were willing to bring that in,
Okay.
and all your court paperwork, court documents, the rest, booking paperwork,
Okay.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And do you have anything else that you can think of that we need from
No,
Mr. Smith?
it's good. I mean, unless you happen to remember any of the names of the employees at the restaurant or anybody that might have seen you. I
I'll
mean,
know
if you can
anyone.
think of any of that, then other than that,
Okay.
anything else from me?
So we'll get started right away. If we don't hear from you in 3 days, if you don't bring that stuff in right away, depending on your schedule, we'll call you in 3 days just to make sure, a little follow-up and make sure that everything's on track. Okay. In that folder that Casey is going to give you, also has our contact information, our business card. And here's my business card. And you can call either of us. We usually return our calls within 1 business day. You can always leave a message with Jeffrey. Do you have any questions?
That's it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so
Good.
much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was
We look forward
very nice
to-
to meet you.
We look forward to working with you.
All right. Bye bye.
Let me walk you out. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.